Marcel Proust's Remembrance of Things Past is a highly regarded piece of 20th century literature and is the literary predecessor to the idea of streams of consciousness, a writing practice taken up and practiced by famous writers like William Faulkner, Ernest Hemingway, and F. Scott Fitzgerald. Proust's work in Remembrance of Things Past, also called In Search of Lost Time, offers a literary definition of human time. Proust's narrator relays in great detail not just what is perceived, but also what is remembered, and he reminds us that there are repeated and constant links between perception and memory. Notice the Proustian moment that occurs when he dips the Madeleine, a soft shortbread-type cookie, into his tea. This scene is among Proust's most famous examples of what relived, or what we may call déjà vu experiences. Proust's narrator, Marcel, carefully builds a picture of his whole self out of buried memories, and each memory of Marcel's past makes clear the emotional and intellectual links between past and present identity. Proust's Remembrance of Lost Time utilizes detailed descriptions of sense perceptions as keys to uncovering a past that is actually a series of layers creating the present. The overture, which is all we will read of the very large novel, examines the meaning of memory itself. Marcel's experiences with his sleeping drama and his final episode with his mother suggest that identity is a combination and a culmination of lived and remembered experiences. This notion of self is in direct opposition to the current notion of identity politics, which accentuates group traits over the intricate, particular, and distinct qualities of the individual. So what does Proust's work have to do with death? Why include this work in a death module? I will explain Proust's place in death by referring to an article in the Wall Street Journal, January 22, 2018 edition. In it, Andrew Schmid recounts Proust's response to a 1922 query by a Parisian newspaper that proposed the following scenario. An American scientist announces that the world will end, or at least that such a huge part of the continent will be destroyed, and in such a sudden way that death will be the certain fate of hundreds of millions of people. If this prediction were confirmed, what do you think would be its effects on people between the time when they acquired the aforementioned certainty and the moment of the cataclysm? Finally, as far as you're concerned, what would you do in this last hour? Schmid goes on to say this. Take a moment to consider your own answer. The replies from French celebrities ran the gamut. One said everyone would scramble to the nearest church or the nearest bedroom. Others thought all inhibitions would go out the window and people would indulge their wildest pleasures. Proust, who had gained popularity after the first volume of In Search of Lost Time was published in 1913, sent in the following response. I think that life would suddenly seem wonderful to us if we were threatened to die, as you say. Just think of how many projects, travels, love affairs, studies our life, hides from us, made invisible by our laziness, which, certain of future, delays them incessantly. But let all of this threaten to become impossible forever. How beautiful it would become again. He continued, the cataclysm doesn't happen, we don't do any of it, because we find ourselves back in the heart of normal life, where negligence deadens desire. And yet we shouldn't have needed the cataclysm to love life today. This beautiful response carries tones of stoicism and poses a deep question. Death always has a chance of coming suddenly, so why can't we appreciate the wonders of life without the cataclysm? The question of what makes a good life is one for the ages, and it's also a personal one. What makes a difference to me might not make a difference to you. Proust, however, has much to contribute to the tapestry we're weaving daily. He understood a lesson we all too often forget in the pursuit of goals and ambitions. The value of life is the sum of its everyday moments. Life is fragile.